argument, if there would be an argument. I don't think Buddha would be the kind of person to argue, but if he ever did provide one, then that would be the argument he would give against this allegation of being an escapist towards him. So yeah, overall, I just think that despite all of this, Nietzsche has made a huge contribution to Western philosophy. He has been so honest in his criticism of everything that has been established in the West. To tell yourself that I know nothing is big. Most of the philosophers that we've had here have constantly told us that they didn't know anything until me, and now guys, this is the truth. But this was the first person who said, no one's known anything, I probably don't know anything, but that's the state we're in. And since then, there have been a lot of schools of thought, existentialism, postmodernism even, that have been very much inspired by him. And the philosophy in the West is certainly undergoing a lot of change now. And it's interesting to see how this will work out, because the thought that has been prevalent in the East or no part of the world has monopoly over it. It's everyone's thought, it's humanity's thought. But it's interesting to see this progress on and maybe fuse with this conception and then turn it into something else. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it works out. But thank you for coming. Do you guys have any questions, comments, anything? Just like, whatever.
What was it, the stage camel, lion, child, the transformation of that. Could it be that, or are there people who have interpreted the, let's put it very simply, 60s as the transformation into the lion, the question everything that came before, destroy it all, and that maybe has to start of the next step in the transformation. Do you know of any people who have interpreted that way?
Yeah, they have. There have been a lot of interpretations there, actually. One is this, but there has been a more prevalent one, which is that the lion was actually the idea of the ideas that fascist leaders had. So Hitler, for one, really used Nietzsche plenty of times in his speeches and validating himself. So he thought that what he was doing was, going against all the morality that has been set up in society and building up something new. So he was the lion, and then there's going to be another transformation or whatever. But yes, there has been a significant amount of work in, the 60s and the rebellious movement. And,
Has Nietzsche ever validated why you need that intermediate lion step, or is it just his analogy of this is gonna happen, or was it this has to happen?
Yeah, he did explain this, which this was in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which I really recommend to everyone, but not as the first text by Nietzsche, because it's quite complex. So what he says is that first you're the camel, and then you're undergoing this, this burdensome morality, and then you have to break it. You have to be rebellious, so you have to get rid of the past first in order to be able to construct something new, and that's why this intermediary is necessary.
But don't you have to throw away that intermediary after a while then too?
Yeah, of course. That's why there is a transformation from the lion to the child. You have to get rid of the lion because it's too wild. Like it's necessary to get rid of everything that is being constructed in the past, but that's all that it has to do.
But he doesn't explain the step from the lion to the child, because that's the one he doesn't understand, right?
That's the one he's groping with.
Yeah.
He's trying to get there. So the child, why is it a child? It's a child because it's new, it's awakened, it's aware, and it doesn't have any of these constructions around itself. But how to get there, what it actually feels like, Nietzsche has no idea. Yeah.
So one of Nietzsche's main criticisms of Western thought is the sort of idea that there's something outside of what appears to be there, and
Exactly.
the sort of dialectical opposition between what we see and God, or the idea. But then the solution he comes up with of the opposing forces within anything seems very similar. There's also dialectical opposition between the two forces, but moreover, there's something you can't see beyond just the mere appearance of reality.
True, I agree. And that is that, because he was working within the same framework, he could not come up with an explanation which went beyond the framework. The will to power, though, is different from everything else that was existent at the time. existing at the time, but I agree, it definitely fits into the very framework he's explaining.
And is
So
he
like
also
strategy.
aware of this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he knows that he's not coming up with any solution whatsoever. And he mentions it quite a few times, but whatever he comes up with, that's what I put out there.
Could you call the will to power the Darwin-like philosophy, like Darwinist philosophy?
You can. He does mention Darwin quite a lot, and he was very impressed with Darwin for two reasons. One was this, and the other was that he was the first person he thought who really took away man from the center of the universe. That you are just like everyone else, and not everything works to your unfolding or to your birth. Yeah.
There was like a big criticism to the Eastern interpretation, like modern Eastern interpretation of the Eastern philosophy, like that is very escapist. But there's also rising Eastern philosophy in the Western, like in the Western society, I would say. There's more people like practicing it. What is like the big criticism that they have right now on Eastern philosophy in Western society? Do you know?
Like who has the criticism? Like who is criticizing?
Well, that they say like that the Eastern society is functioning in a way that it's using Eastern philosophy as a way to escape like reality of society in a sense. But Western society is also attracted to like Eastern philosophy, and is it also because it's like an escapist philosophy, or what do you think?